Hey, good morning, everyone. So let me kind of show you a little bit about how I'm trying to set this up this morning. And it's not super complex. I've got these two uThrones. This is 75. This is 65. And I'm trying to utilize some of these. Just filmmakers use these. Documentarians who are people who are shooting film use these. There's a reason why at the conclusion of a film there's a huge list of contributors who worked on it, and I'm trying to kind of rig up some type of a way of using it because I don't know how to use it. I don't know really. I mean, yes, this would amplify the warmth of the scene. And there's got to be some absorptive quality to that. There's this side. Here's kind of like the frame for it. I mean, this is the capability that you can really only have with the material technology to get an effect. So the sensitivity of the mind, of our perceptual systems, cultivating that so that we appreciate the nuance. We appreciate these slight variations. And you cannot have that experience unless you slow your breathing and movement to the point where you go between these extremes. In your relationship to gravity, that communicates your dimensional perfection, your capacity for achieving an intellectual explanation for why you are the way that you are, why the world is as it is. And thus, what the future needs. What are we going to be required to do to continue to thrive, to continue to have more fulfilling celebrations, more fulfilling experiences of work, earning these good experiences because so many people in the past didn't get to experience all of the benefits of the technology that they were working to turn into a larger legacy, a larger source, a larger pool of potential. It's like there's an ocean of potential. You could do this, you could do that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But for other people, it's a pond of potential. Maybe it's a drop of potential. And that's just by virtue of where you were synthesized, the latitude and longitude, and all of the influences through history, all of the versions of solar energy that impacted your existence and your movement, and then the creation and maintenance of that DNA strand that's gone through all of those iterations. Every generation is an iteration of your DNA. And this is one reason why we can't blame people for their status. We can't blame people for having failed to make the choices because we aren't giving them the curriculum to understand the world such that the choices that they make are directed towards increasing precision of acquiring more clarity and then communicating how others can do the same. The atomic theory is the foundation of that. Respiration, breath work, bilateral and asymmetrical alignments that stem from contact. And then incrementally get to their comfortable extremes. In time and in a rhythm with one's breathing empowers your body not only at the cellular, molecular, atomic level, but in the public realm. Because again, this is something that we need. It is something that is so innate that we don't make the connection. We don't have the curriculum for physiologically counterbalancing the negative effects of modernity. You know, everybody would talk about shoulder width. Well, what about hip width? What about knee width? What about turning my feet in just a little bit? What about supinating and pronating my hands? What about a little compression on my forehead? Each one of those compression breaths is an alteration in the internal direction of that expansive power. And that expansive force it's being directed based on the effect of light pressure or the shape of my body, which turns my scapula out or pulls my shoulder back, pulls my shoulder up, flexes my arms down, flexes my arms at 10 degrees from my body, 0, negative. You know, like there are all of these variations that you don't perceive if you aren't moving and breathing slowly. If you aren't going through these experiences of physiological balance, I'm lifting my arms. I know that my feet and my knees and my hips and my spine are all absorbing the force of gravity. What are my eyes doing? What's my tongue doing? What's my skull doing? What are my facial muscles doing? What about my throat muscles? See, there are more components to this invisible ceiling. It's as if we're draped. We're draped in something that accentuates the force of gravity. This is one thing about capes and the ways that the Greco-Romans experienced the world. It's a different physiological experience to where the get up of a lot of those human beings at the time. There's something to being putting on or simulating yourself as the Pope, you know, having something that's singularly conically pointed, you know, to the heavens, to this idea, to this definition of perfection. It can be mimicked with your body. A lot of postures in yoga, a lot of postures in Buddhism, in even Christianity, are utilizing this dynamic. This is something that I'm adding. This furniture is something that I'm contributing. And this is something that everyone can do. So I'm going to make these geometric shapes. I'm going to make these curves with my feet and with every part of my foot. Each one of my toe joints is undulating just like my hands. Which sector of the hand is most responsible for delivering, for expressing force? It may not be a lot, but it's something. It's movement. Movement is the direction of inertia. Inertia is created by the undulations internally, respiratorily, muscularly, gravitationally. And this, I'm not even using a uThrone. I'm not even using a modifier, a structural modifier that gives me unique capabilities. This is one thing that I suggest we all begin to do a little bit. There are certain movements that can be replicated. Just as if we were in a gym. Now I might do concentration curls. I do 12, and then I do 10, and then I do 8. Yeah, okay. Now, why don't you find something in your home that's comparable in weight that could be a substitute? If you are doing things that are grasping, you need to work that same muscle opening. And you need to be using it in these different, at these different angles and these different flexions. And that's why these patterns of movement are so amazing, because you get to create them. You take these postures of unification, foot behind the knee, perfectly. You can curve every part of yourself. Your legs can curve. In fact, there's not a straight sector to even the things that appear to be straight. It's impossible in the body, except at the atomic level. Except at the molecular level. Ooh. Even the DNA is bent and curved and so perfectly unified that it's efficient over the trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of cell replications and operations that the DNA does over its existence, the course of your life, the commands that it sends about protein synthesis, or what it forgets, what aggregate changes enable it to become cancerous, enable your immune system to be stronger. You see, this, I'm sitting on it in an off-centered way in order to allow my left side, or this side, see, resisting gravity with your hands here is different than here, as it's different than up here. Having your hands kind of along this shoulder, kind of clavicle meridian, versus having your hands out